the process of data transformation is primarily a human challenge, is related to organization and culture more than to technology and data itself.
Not everyone makes the news, but behind every growth-driving experience, product, and transformation are experts who shape the outcome. Welcome to Behind the Growth, a podcast for digital leaders and those aspiring to become one. Each episode features a candid conversation with a remarkable individual. Join us as we focus on their struggles, wins, and lessons learned you won't find anywhere else. Let's get started.
Hello and welcome to Behind the Growth, the nexus where technology meets humanity. I'm your host, Imran Mian, and today we are venturing beyond the code and algorithms to explore the human challenges in the era of GenAI. In a world captivated by the potential of GenAI, it's crucial to remember that at the heart of every technological leap are the people who make it all possible. Joining us today is Andrea De Mauro, a visionary leader and a prominent figure in the realm of data and digital transformation. Andrea's extensive experience in driving innovation and fostering a culture of continuous learning sets him apart in the tech industry. Andrea, it's a pleasure to have you with us to shed some light on the human side of the AI revolution.
Thanks a lot, Imran, for the invite. I'm glad. I'm very, very happy to be here. I think that the topics that we're going to discuss are very close to my heart, first of all, and then we never talk enough about these critical aspects. So I'm looking forward to our chat very much. Thank you.
Absolutely. So before we get into our topic of today, would you mind walking our listeners through your professional journey a little bit so that people know and can relate to your journey as well?
Sure, with pleasure. I've been very, very fortunate in my path so far, Imran, because I'm passionate about data. And for the last 18 years, I had the opportunity to see challenges related to data application, data analytics across different industries and in very different contexts. For a big part of my career, I had the opportunity to work for a great company that is Procter & Gamble, P&G. So it was, fast-moving consumer goods. I did a series of assignments in the UK, in Italy, and in Switzerland. And I had the opportunity to see how data can be actually used to understand consumers' behavior, to anticipate their behavior, and also to optimize their experience, right? Also in terms of finding the right product at the right place on the shelf with the right price, with the right promotion attached to it. It was very interesting to see, how also the human aspects related to this. But again, this is what we're going to talk at length during our chat today. Then I changed industry and I had the opportunity to learn what it means to manage data in a very data-rich industry, which is telecommunications. So I became the head of data analytics for Vodafone Italy. And I had the opportunity to apply data analytics, but also all the enablers of data analytics like data governance in an environment where you have too much data, basically, versus what you seem comfortable, you are comfortable in managing. Is a very data-rich environment, the one of telcos, very, let's say, fascinating as well. Also because you have the opportunity to impact the way customers experience the service they get from the company, and you have the opportunity really to make an impact, to change it dramatically by using the right algorithms and the right data assets.
I guess in other words, it's called like hyper-personalization, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely. Personalization is one of the most visible effects of using data in the right way from a customer perspective. So personalizing the experience and creating a relationship that is more deep than what we used to do in the past. In the last few months, also, my life has been quite interesting because I decided to look after my own consultancy firm, and I currently advise data executives on setting up data analytics strategy, getting data governance programs started. I also run trainings to develop skills for both data professionals and non-data professionals. So I'm having a lot of fun doing this as well. And I keep writing, which is also my passion. Of course, I'm a very boring person if you don't like data, because I write also about data, and that's my main topic, let's say, of the books I write. So that's in short, that has been my path so far. But as I said at the beginning, I'm very happy, and I was lucky to actually look after the topics that I'm passionate about for
Well, that's
all of my career.
certainly very impressive and fascinating. Your background from CPG to telecom and data being the common denominator, and of course your experience with the human element of it. So let's dive in to our topic. I guess my next question I would like to ask is, with the rapid advancement of Gen AI, there's a lot of focus on the technical side. But let's talk a little bit about the human challenges. In your view, what are some of the key human-centric issues that organizations face beyond just the analytics?
Yeah, that's a great question, Imran. Thanks a lot for bringing this up. It's very close to my heart, this topic. Indeed, it may seem counterintuitive, but the process of data transformation is primarily a human challenge. It's related to organization and culture more than to technology and data itself. We find ourselves in a narrative where algorithms are painted as the protagonists of the era we are living. So the new algorithms comes up with the 100 billion parameters more, and the narrative is all about what this algorithm can do and what's the impact of these billion parameters more. But the reality is that we often overlook the struggles and the sweat of the people that is actually behind the algorithm. So I always encourage top managers to consider at least three aspects when it comes to people, of the human challenges. The first one is managing the talent of data professionals, setting up a very clear definition of roles, responsibilities, but also career progression and the skill development path of professionals like data scientists, data engineers, business analysts. Companies struggle with this, especially the ones that have got lower maturity, and this creates retention issues, but also their inability to actually acquire the right talent. So I would always advise to make sure to be very, very clear on what it means to have a professional, like a career path for data professionals, which is very much codified. The second aspect is about the organization, getting people in the right places. Data analytics talents, they can either be in centralized organizations or they can be integrated with the business. There is no one single model that works for everyone. The important thing is to have a very clear idea of the interaction between the data professionals and the business organization, and have an organizational structure that enables this continuous dialogue and co-creation of value. And I would say the third aspect is about culture, which is very much connected also with business sponsorship. Culture and business sponsorship, they are interrelated. Having the right culture across the entire organization with the right level of fluency, which ultimately should get analysts, data professionals being included in the decision-making process. I always say to senior managers, you should make sure that analysts have a seat at the table where and when important decisions are made. This is, of course, requires some cultural openness to make it happen. And that's why culture is a predominant challenge when it comes to data analytics and AI and generative AI in companies today.
That's absolutely profound insight, Andrea. You mentioned a couple of things there. You mentioned culture, you mentioned training as part of the overall strategy, and adoption of AI, for example. To add to that, how important is it to make sure that there's oversight and there's ethics governance as well. We'll get into the governance piece in a bit, but for example, some of the organizations are on the fence in terms of fully embracing Gen AI or the use of Gen AI because of the concerns around ethical use of it. So how do you get around that?
So ethical use of AI is possible only when, first of all, you have a very clear understanding of what you're using AI for. And this means that the AI capabilities, they need to be codified in a way that you can quickly, it's not a quick process, but and it's a very important one, so it requires time, but you can assess whether what you're doing and the impact that capability is offering, what impact it has indeed on customers and of course employees and all the other parts involved. So I think codifying the capabilities is an important enabler of checking the AI ethical impact. But another thing I see companies are investing a lot, rightly so these days, is to put together a code of ethics, an ethical code for AI, put it in writing, and explaining it not only to the data professionals, but to the entire organization. A simple example of this is with generative AI and with the chatbots that we are seeing proliferating in our companies these days. You should train people, train organizations on how this tool works, but you should also train at the same time about the risks of not using the responses properly imply. And the two things, fluency, you mentioned in your question also the fluency part and the training part. Ethics management and the fluency go in pair. They are the same challenge. You want to make sure people understand the words that we use when we talk about AI, have a common definition of understanding, have a basic understanding of the key concepts enabling machines to learn, so basically machine learning basics. And when they have that, they will be able to understand the implications from an ethical standpoint. They will be able to understand things like bias that machines can have when making decisions, when inferring, when predicting, where it comes from, how to manage it. And only when you have a clear dictionary and a common language, you can have a conversation, adult conversation of ethics. I think this is what companies are rightly investing their time on these days, the ones that are at that level of maturity. And yes, I would encourage every organization to have a conversation on ethical AI and fluency.
100%. I think it's policy, but then, as you rightly pointed out, culture and training go hand in hand. And of course, there's a number of legislations being enacted across the globe, in Europe, in North America, in Canada. So the legislation alone isn't going to accomplish this task. It has to be really adopted and becomes part of the culture and training, as you mentioned. So considering all that what you've said, I want to draw your attention briefly to the role of people's managers in this whole transformation. What, in your view, are some of the struggles they face, and how can they be better equipped to lead their teams in this new era?
Yes, indeed, Imran, I think the role of people manager changes. I would start from maybe sharing some very practical tips for the people managers of data professionals. Data professionals today, when I talk to them, I realize they keep suffering always the same frustrations, or anyway, frustrations that have the same sources, and they all have to experience them. And so people's managers can be very supportive and of great help for them if they recognize these frustrations. So for instance, data analysts, data scientists, they feel very often that they are undervalued, overburdened with routine tasks very far from what they actually want to do. They feel that sometimes they are bogged down with, by low quality data, or they are sidelined into tasks that is below their skill level. For instance, they get asked for a simple report to be built, which by the way sometimes has got a very clear importance from a business standpoint. And of course, we need to get our hands dirty and go for it. But when it becomes the normality and it becomes a frustration. So I would advise people managers to help data professionals understand that they have an active role in explaining what their role is to the business partners. So instead of passively receiving requests of this kind and not doing much about them, they can explain what the role is, ask to get involved in strategic conversations, earn that seat at the table that we mentioned earlier, where decisions are made. And I would say also people's managers can make sure these roles are clear to business partners, asking for more engagement and involvement. Yeah, I think that's some practical tips for the professional people managers.
Absolutely. I guess my next question relates to the previous question. I want to ask is going back to the transformative power of Gen AI. There's a lot of discussion about the future of work. The question is, how do you envision the role of human creativity and decision making evolving in a landscape where like everything is pretty much influenced by AI? And what steps should individuals and organizations take to nurture these indispensable human qualities?
Yes, this is a very hot topic these days, indeed. In companies, there are active conversations. Some of them are in meeting rooms, some of them are happening in front of a coffee machine about this new thing coming in, Gen AI, whether it will steal our jobs. Now, this is a fear that is very legitimate to have, and we as data leaders, we need to recognize that, work the full organization in terms of providing the fluency required to understand what these technologies can do and create an inclusive environment in which everyone in a company, including those who are a bit far away from the traditional data landscape, so people working on a production line or those welcoming customers and visitors at the reception of the office. Everyone in a company should understand what GenAI is, even if it's at an high level. Otherwise, this sense of fear that AI will steal our jobs cannot be reverted, cannot be, let's say, managed properly. Now, on the role of humans in the age of AI, I am very positive that, because I'm already seeing that, the humans can become more humans. They can do more human stuff and delegate more boring pieces of work to machines. So the role of, you mentioned the creativity for sure, creativity can be amplified, the right generative AI tools, but will hardly be substituted completely. And I think on this topic, I would highlight one keyword, which is collaboration, is the partnership between humans and AI. Whenever humans are able to collaborate with machines in a way that is efficient and effective, they see the value of GenAI. They see the value of AI in general. But building this level of collaboration is not an easy task because it requires, and we go back always to the same point, the fluency, understanding what we are working with, understanding the role of AI, understanding the limitations of AI, so connection back to the ethical risks as well, understand the limitation, and experiment in a safe environment how to work together. The key
100%.
word is collaboration.
Yeah, just yesterday I was having a conversation with somebody about the new world order where every org chart will have a digital coworker and a human, of course. So there will be coexistence between digital workers and humans. So I think that's the future. And all the things that we talked about from a culture and training and policy and governance perspective would have to basically work together to make it work, right?
Yes. I like this image of the organizational chart that has this like duo team with the human and an AI agent collaborating and closely. And I'd like to think that this will not mean that humans will be less humans because sort of like they merge with the machine. But actually humans can be more humans once this collaboration takes place and becomes established. And yeah, I think it's a good image for the future. Of course, we need to be very careful about making this happen in the proper way and ensuring that it's an inclusive path, that nobody is left behind. That's why you hear me repeating continuously the importance of a fluency program for everyone and including everyone in the company.
Absolutely. So I guess we're coming up on time. I wanted to ask if you would like to offer any advice to leaders and organizations looking to navigate the complexities of Gen AI, while of course keeping the human element at the forefront.
So I would share a few very practical tips. Some of them are very common sense, but I think it's okay sometimes to talk common sense, especially when something so complex is coming into our company, like, the role of generative AI. Now, I think companies should start envisioning what Gen AI is for them and selecting a few use cases which can really demonstrate value, not only to the top managers of the company, to the leaders of the company, but to the full workforce, so that it becomes apparent to people that AI, and in particular Gen AI, is not a topic for technicians, is not a topic for computer scientists or for the IT guys, okay? But is a topic for everyone.
Absolutely.
So select a few big bets, go for them, and make sure the value is visible to everyone. The other element is run fluency programs to upskill your technical data professionals on the new skills required for generative AI. I would mention, of course, large language model, application building, prompt engineering, and everything that comes with the complexity, the new complexities that we need from a technical perspective to solve when generative AI comes. But on top of this part for data professionals, companies should work as soon as possible on having an inclusive development path for everyone on the basics of AI and Gen AI. Also because of some of the tools, Imran, we're seeing them with the big players like Microsoft launching, who has launched and now is reality, Copilot, in our PCs for those who use Office 365. We are already seeing that this is happening, right? So people are starting to use the tools, and it's better to do them in a very with the right level of awareness and preparation, and also with an ethical code to have in mind. Other than that, I would say top managers should be involved from day one. They should stay curious about AI and Gen AI and learn and be personally involved without delegating a topic which is so big like generative AI to the technical people, to the CIO or to the chief data officer. I think that's another very practical tip for them.
Wonderful. Well, Andrea, it's been an enlightening conversation. Your insights remind us that in the rush towards embracing Gen AI, the human element, our culture, training, leadership, and governance plays a pivotal role in shaping a future where technology amplifies human potential, not replaces it. And of course, to our listeners, today's dialogue with Andrea underscores the importance of balancing the scales between technological prowess and human wisdom. As we continue to explore the frontiers of AI, let's ensure that our journey is not just intelligent, but also wise. Thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, stay curious. Keep bridging the gap between humans and technology. Bye for now. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Behind the Growth. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow along on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. This podcast is brought to you by Mobile Live, a team of digital experts bringing intelligence and efficiency to how businesses sell, serve, and save. For more episodes of Behind the Growth, please visit mobilelive.ca/podcast.